Love is the first and most essential bond, but it's also the invisible thread, woven with time, attention and tenderness through consistent nurturing relationships, which creates the grounded and meaningful environments around a child.
Take a deep breath and brace yourself, because what I'm about to reveal may leave you stunned. In my 20 years of closely observing every shift behind palace walls, I have never encountered a report as alarming as this one. Just moments ago, a shocking development broke. A dangerous device, an altered weapon, came within inches of Princess Kate Middleton. But that is not even the worst part. The individual arrested at the scene, the person who managed to breach one of the tightest security systems in the world and get within just a few meters of Kate, was someone from the innermost circle of the royal family. That person was none other than Laura Lopez, the daughter of Queen Camilla and the stepdaughter of King Charles III. This is no longer tabloid gossip or reckless rumor. This was a targeted attack, a fatal security failure, and a direct confrontation between two of the most powerful branches within the palace. Why would the Queen's daughter carry a weapon to approach Kate? Was this an impulsive act or the result of long-simmering resentments that have been quietly burning for decades? Do not look away, because right now I am about to dissect every detail of the most terrifying crisis the British monarchy has faced in years. The truth behind this alleged attack could permanently alter the future of the throne. Everything began at approximately 2:30 p.m. at the Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew, in London. Princess Kate was there to attend a working session for the Early Years Foundation, a project she has devoted years of her life to building and nurturing. But there is one critically important detail you must understand. This was not a public engagement. The visit was kept strictly confidential. There were no cheering crowds, no flashing cameras, no media presence. Only senior members of the foundation and a very small number of palace staff knew that Kate would be there at that exact time. So the question becomes unavoidable. Why was Laura Lopez there? Laura's name did not appear on the guest list. She had no official connection to the project whatsoever. However, as the Queen's daughter, Laura possessed a privilege that any terrorist would envy: a pass labeled simply family. Witnesses later reported seeing a well-dressed woman, elegant and supremely confident, moving through the glass house as if she belonged there. That sense of familiarity proved fatally deceptive. Outer security allowed her to pass without thorough screening, simply because they recognized her face, a face regularly seen at private family dinners and at the most significant events of the monarchy. Meanwhile, as Kate was deeply engaged in a discussion about early childhood education with the foundation's director, she had no idea that just a few rows of tropical plants away, a family member was moving closer with dark intent. This so-called private event, designed to protect the princess's privacy, had inadvertently become the perfect trap, because the threat did not come from outside the gates, but from within the family itself. This security breach was not merely a technical failure, it was a brutal warning. In the royal world, familiarity can sometimes be the most dangerous weapon of all. Why would a woman with a seemingly stable, comfortable life like Laura Lopez choose to risk everything to attack Kate? The answer does not lie in a moment of madness, but in a slow-burning wound that has festered for decades: the outsider syndrome. Put yourself in Laura's position. For years, she watched her mother, Camilla, be condemned by the world as the other woman. When Camilla finally became queen, Laura may have believed that her family would at last receive the recognition it deserved. But reality proved far crueler. The arrival of Kate Middleton changed everything. Kate was not merely a princess, she became the people's princess, a near-perfect reincarnation of Diana, the very figure Camilla's family had long hoped the world would forget. The contrast in public adoration was impossible to ignore. Every time Kate appeared wearing Diana's iconic tiaras, the media erupted. Meanwhile, the presence and contributions of Camilla and Laura were reduced to little more than background noise, an afterthought in the royal narrative. Then came the deepest wound of all: the future generation. While George, Charlotte, and Louis are granted maximum protection, historic titles, and a guaranteed place at the heart of the monarchy, Laura's children, who are also the king's grandchildren, remain private citizens. No titles, no official roles, no symbolic recognition. Insiders reveal that a heated confrontation took place at Balmoral last summer. Laura reportedly lost control, accusing Kate of deliberately commanding all the attention and of turning Camilla's family into shadows within the palace. That resentment only intensified as Kate's influence grew stronger in her role as the future face of the monarchy. To Laura, Kate was no longer just a sister-in-law. She became a symbol of injustice. The woman who had, deliberately or not, extinguished the light of the Parker Bowles family. What happened in the glass house was not merely a personal attack. It was a desperate scream from someone who felt stripped of her place inside her own family. But how did that jealousy transform into action? Let us now turn to the breathless moments at the scene itself. Picture the scene, 2:30 p.m. inside the humid tropical glasshouse at Kew Gardens. Princess Kate is smiling, leaning in as she speaks with the director of the Early Years Foundation. She appears completely at ease, convinced she is surrounded by an impenetrable ring of security. But from behind a large cluster of foliage, Laura Lopez suddenly separates herself from the group of staff. She does not run. She advances with a chilling calm. In her right hand is a gleaming metal object, later described by security experts as either a sharpened gardening tool or a large steel letter opener. The distance closes rapidly, 20 feet, 15 feet, then just 10 feet. At the exact moment Laura begins to raise her arm, the instinct of an elite protection officer saves the princess's life. And the most horrifying detail? Witnesses say that when Laura Lopez was forced to the ground, she did not struggle. She did not scream. She simply stared in the direction Kate had just been taken, a faint smile on her face, and said in a cold, measured voice, "She needs to know she's not untouchable. That aura doesn't belong to her." In less than 60 seconds, what had been a peaceful setting was transformed into a secured crime scene. Kate was escorted into an armored vehicle, visibly shaken but physically unharmed. Laura, meanwhile, was led away through a staff-only passage to avoid the attention of any stray cameras. A weapon had come terrifyingly close to making history in the darkest possible way. But the real battle was only just beginning, behind the closed doors of Buckingham Palace. Immediately after Laura Lopez was subdued, an unprecedented security lockdown was imposed. For a full hour, no one was allowed to enter or leave the Royal Botanic Gardens. Security officers confiscated every mobile phone from those present, ensuring that not a single photo or video of the attempted attack could leak to the outside world. But behind the stone walls of the palace, a storm was already raging. Sources say the king immediately suspended all meetings. On one hand, he was the monarch charged with protecting the future of the throne, Kate herself. On the other, he was a husband forced to confront a devastating reality. His wife's daughter had just attempted to attack his daughter-in-law. Rather than issuing a statement or offering public reassurance, Camilla chose complete silence. She withdrew to her private residence at Ray Mill as a funereal atmosphere settled over Clarence House. Those close to her described her expression as one of shock, laced with humiliation and quiet despair. Meanwhile, the Metropolitan Police and the Royal Protection Unit seized Laura's phones and computers. What they discovered was even more disturbing. Meticulous notes tracking Kate's movements, along with encrypted messages indicating weeks of prior planning. Then came the true legal checkmate, the palace's greatest dilemma. If Laura Lopez were formally charged with conspiracy to assault a senior member of the royal family, a public trial would follow, exposing every internal fracture and buried scandal to the world. But if she were quietly released, it would deliver a devastating blow to the credibility of the justice system and to the very notion of Princess Kate's safety. For the first time in decades, the public witnessed an unusually prolonged silence from the palace. There was no familiar reassurance that the princess is safe. This silence was not accidental. It was the unmistakable signal of a constitutional crisis looming just beneath the surface. The incident inside the Kew Gardens glasshouse delivered a lesson Buckingham Palace never wanted to acknowledge. The most dangerous enemies are not those holding protest signs outside the gates, but those seated at the same Christmas dinner table. Within the next 72 hours, we will learn whether justice will be allowed to take its course, or whether a confidential settlement will be quietly signed to protect the Queen's dignity. But regardless of the outcome, the image of a united royal family has already shattered. 10 feet. That was the distance between life and death for the princess, and also the measure of an abyss now carved deep within the heart of the monarchy, one that may never be bridged. And now, we ask you, what do you think? Should the palace prioritize the rule of law or the fragile peace of the family? Should Laura Lopez face punishment or be discreetly placed under psychological care? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because at this moment, public opinion is the greatest pressure bearing down on the palace. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the latest updates on this unfolding investigation. We will return as soon as new information emerges from London.